I'm from El Paso, Texas, outside of El Paso, Texas. Grew up on a farm just outside of town, a pecan orchard. So that kind of influences a lot of things I do. Open space, being in a valley between mountains, the desert, arid climate, that all kind of plays into everything I do. Both of my parents were artists. I would classify them more as craftsmen than artists, really. But my father was he did leather work forever. Then after that, kind of transitioned into jewelry. So he was a jeweler for a long time. So that's where I picked up, all of my bench skills was doing that. But he did kind of a traditional Southwest style. He learned a lot from Navajos.
Okay.
Things like that. So not so much contemporary work. So I take all those technical skills that I already had and put them into what I do now in the more contemporary work. I mean, whether it's jewelry or sculpture or, fabricating, motorcycles and cars and trucks, it all kind of, I don't want to say it's a cohesive body, but you could definitely tell. If I set each one of those things next to each other, you could tell that I made them. I'd go out into the desert and find all these little tiny pieces of steel, just smashed up cans, little things. And I would take all these home and I'd lay them out on the table and I'd look at them. And I'd find the ones that were had the heaviest visual weight. And then I would fabricate this just very intricate mechanical pin back to it. And so when somebody's wearing it, it just looks like a little chunk of rusted steel that you're wearing on your shirt. It doesn't communicate. So it was all about that relationship between the piece and the wearer. Only they know what's going on behind it. And the trick to open the mechanism to put it on is kind of a relationship that I have to explain to whoever's wearing it. So it's all about that chain of command and those relationships. Lately it's been steel. It's all been steel. And I've just been on this just fabricating kick where it's, I like thinking that it's just blue collar. That's what I want. Not that I don't respect conceptual art, but I can't take, somebody puts a loaf of bread on the floor and talks about it for 2 hours. I really can't take that seriously. I'm an object maker. It has to communicate skill to me, and that's the language that I understand the most. So, if I see a really well-crafted object, that's what I'm drawn to. I mean, my jewelry is wearable art. It's all about the relationship with the body and how the piece is worn, that interaction between the viewer and the wearer and the object. You could consider a motorcycle as kind of a jewelry piece. I mean, it doesn't function without one or the other. It's like Shinya Kimura always says, he's kind of an idol of mine, that a motorcycle's not complete till somebody rides it. And same thing with a piece of jewelry. It's not important enough when it's just laying on the table or stuffed in your box. That's where I get a lot of that inspiration from. And this new work I've been doing, I'm working on making these steel forms, in that permanent material that look, instead of trying to get away from the found object. I don't like that word, found, or even reappropriated. Yeah. So I'm creating these vessels, these forms from just completely raw materials, and I'm forming them and shaping them to make them look like they've been around for a long time.
Yeah.
And then painting them in a way that looks like they've been weathered, in that climate that I'm used to, this West Texas climate that I grew up and been around so much. Everything has to work in unison. One part can't work and be supported by the rest, especially things with two wheels, and that's how I approach a lot of my work, and especially with the kinetic stuff that I make. It all has to work together, and just kind of that lifespan of a machine's important.
Yeah.
Because no matter how well maintained anything is, everything has a lifespan.